Hello and welcome to the very first Special Moves podcast. My name is Mike Williams, this is Jake Kulkowski.
Yes, it is.
And Liam McKelvey.
How are you doing?
Very good, Liam. Thank you for asking, Liam.
You're welcome.
This
Mike.
is our brand new podcast about games.
Aww.
Games on the PC, games on the PlayStation, all of the games. You can find us on iTunes, on YouTube, on Castbox, and we will be on Spotify once we are 5 podcasts in, because there's a bit of a limit.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but yeah, that's true.
Otherwise, very exciting news. We've got a new podcast. So this is a new podcast which will be taking place every single week, but this is kind of the first debut bonus. Bonus? Is it a bonus?
It's the
podcast?
launch day podcast.
It's the launch. Thanks, Jake.
It.
Yeah,
got him.
Yeah, save me there. Cheers, Jake. And so there's going to be another one on Monday, and we're going to be doing it every single week from now on, hopefully, if you guys enjoy it, and assuming more than 7 people listen to it. Special Moves is the new channel where this podcast will be located. Hopefully you've seen that we've announced that on Twitter and stuff, and it's got some snazzy pink graphics and logos and stuff. It's quite exciting, isn't it, guys?
It's very cool.
Exciting.
It's very cool. I especially like that one part where there was a fireball. Oh, that was a good part.
What was
that was
so
exciting,
mysterious.
wasn't
I wonder if it's going to be a new YouTube channel and podcast.
No.
People were saying yes, that is what it is.
Both in the same day.
One person asked if we're setting up a bar, which I quite liked, and I kind of fancy it now, to be honest.
We'll just do that instead.
Yeah, let's call it a day. Yeah, the end of the podcast. Only joking, please God, stay and listen to this. We've also got on the channel, not just this podcast, we've got something called the It's Friday Tomorrow show, which goes out the day before Friday.
Hey,
Thursday.
is that Thursday?
Yes. So that's how that works.
Cool.
It's going to be full of topics from the past week, news, and kind of just, basically new stuff, like new things that have happened. So not necessarily like big headlines and that, but just, it's nice, isn't it? Trailers, fun stuff, other things like that every single week.
Cool things.
Cool things, fun things, and plenty of wholesome banter. We're also going to be doing some reviews, deep dive type, history lesson type things, I guess, into classic video games that, just deserve a bit of spotlight on them, I think. Just some chatting about some of the classic games that we love. Mm-hmm. And we've also got a series based on Divinity Original Sin 2 that we're all very excited about. Which is, it's kind of like a Let's Play, but...
Yeah, don't call it a Let's Play.
Also not, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a don't call it a Let's Play.
That's what it is.
That's what we're going to call it.
It's a very high concept.
It is actually. We're also on Patreon. We've launched on Patreon as well, where you can get the podcast ad-free. You can join us live with editing workshops with Jake. You can do live writing workshops with me, Mike Williams. We're going to be running regular gaming nights as well, where you can play games with us and loads more. We're very excited about that, and we just thought we'd kind of get out there right now. Just lay the cards on the table. That's where we want to be. That's what the dream is. We might as well just start right now, right?
Let's do it.
Right now.
So this is a new channel. Let's just get on with the actual topics, I guess. Let's talk about some games. Cyberpunk 2077. There was a big gameplay reveal this week.
Oh, it went on. I was trying to make tea.
It went on like that fucking intro, mate. Like that intro that I just did.
You know what? Yeah. Well, listen.
That went on.
I was in the middle of making chicken gyros, right? And then
Standard.
I heard because they tweeted a Twitch stream live thing all day, and then as soon as I start making dinner, they do this 48-minute reveal. How inconvenient!
Yeah.
Tell you what, though, it was massive. There was loads and loads. It was the E3 thing, right? It was the press saw behind closed doors at E3 just gone. Like all the press were doing those smug secret tweets. Well, now we got to see what they were being so smug and secret about.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of I've just seen Cyberpunk 2077, and let me just say, guys,
blown away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's
we've
seen it now.
So we got to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, like you say, 48 minutes long, jam packed with stuff. What did you think of it, Liam?
It looked cool. I mean, it's pretty much exactly what people described in the previews. It was first person.
Yeah.
It had lots of bullet time, lots of slow motion shootouts, and dialogue trees. It was an RPG, to be honest.
Dialogue trees, the lot.
It did look cool, but it gave me very similar vibes to Human Revolution and Mankind Divided.
Yeah.
It looked
Deus
very,
Ex, right?
very thematically and stylistically similar.
I'm gonna, now that you've said that, I'm gonna lay my kind of cards on the table. It was kind of, yes, positive. I was like, yeah, this looks good. But my first reaction was, this is Deus Ex, and I've played much of this already. But it wasn't until, there was bits later on where it was kind of driving, third-person open-world driving, which is pretty cool. And then the way that the story seems to be very fluid from minute to minute, like especially near the end. Like one of my favourite bits is where like this big kind of boss NPC kind of storms into a room, points a gun at the character player's face, and then you've got some options, and you pick, like the whoever was playing it picked an option that was like, I've got so much money on this chip thing, right? This credit, future space money.
Eddies.
Eddies.
Yeah. What did it stand for? Euro dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the euro didn't sound as good, I guess. So
Euro dollars.
Yeah, eddies. So here's some money anyway, and she's like basically putting a wad of cash in his face, and I just quite liked that how quickly, like, they press the button and immediately the hand, because it's a first person game, obviously, the hand kind of emerges on screen and there's a chit, and I quite liked that, and I was wondering then, like, how else could that have gone, because the other two options were very different to that. So that was one of my kind of favourite bits on it. What were you thinking, Jake, when you were watching it, other than trying to cook some gyros here?
Yeah, well, I'd say what, it was very good. People were talking about it. I remember, the thing is, how people were saying it was like mind-blowing E3. There was some really good bits, there was some sad bits. People were saying, and all the NPCs have their day and night cycles. And I remember, the narrator just says that. Every game, we speak about this quite a bit, but every game has an NPC that's a full day and night cycle. So I don't know. I think I was just being a little bit like how a lot of people are. Come on, then impress me.
Yeah.
And I don't like the first person idea as much as some. And at the same time, like when they were doing double jumps and stuff, I was getting like Destiny 2 vibes. The first Special News podcast, and it feels like I'm slagging off Cyberpunk 2077, but by all means, it was really, really good. But I just needed to get that out of the way first.
Yeah.
It did seem like a video game we'd seen before, but with that huge GTA world, and there was some big moments. That part where you just, where you're in like the slums or whatever you are at the beginning, and then when you first make it out onto the street, you first see the street, it was like when you get out of the sewers in Oblivion moment.
Yeah,
or the
exactly. Yeah.
You're like, whoa, okay, so here it is. I kind of wish we got to see it at night, because I was looking at it and going, how gorgeous would all these signs look? It looks really great. The world, like all the, I guess everyone's saying verticality, but that's it, isn't it? All those different floors of all the apartment buildings that you can go up and everything like that. All the street vendors, that looked really, really cool. And the shooting looked, all right. That was the bit that I was like the least impressed with, the shooting. And I don't know. I don't know what it was. I was just like,
it looked a bit
Destiny.
I thought it looked, the numbers popping out of them. Everyone's saying Destiny, right? Because there's numbers popping out everywhere, which is a very RPG-ish approach to shooting. Which Borderlands, I guess, did it really prominently, and then we got Destiny and obviously Anthem coming up and stuff. So it's kind of almost like just a fashionable thing almost to now just have numbers popping out of the enemies when you shoot them. But this gunplay had like this Doom style feel to it. I thought like they were trying
fluid.
to. It was, wasn't it? Like sliding around and like the shotgun,
lots of dashing and stuff.
Yeah, and people getting their legs blown off and
then going,
memes.
My legs, and then their head gets blown off and they carry on, my legs.
Yeah, that's the new. I used to be an adventurer like you until I took an arrow in the knee.
Yeah, until I took a shotgun blast and my legs came clean off.
Imagine getting your legs blown off and then going, ow. My legs.
I know, it was Jesus Christ, because it was in slow motion. That's why the voice was like that. You were right. It was so fluid.
I can't believe you just explained that to me. No, you seem like it was playing out in slow motion. It was for
the people at home that might not have known why I keep doing this.
Oh yeah, right. for the benefit of the listeners.
Exactly. You're right about it being so fluid, but I love how they can explain that away and anything away by the fact that they've all had like cyborg implants, so no one can slide like that. Well, they can if they're half robot. Like they could explain so much of that. The fact that like you were getting upgrades to like your HUD, basically, you can now see your ammo count because you've had a chip in your eye and you can zoom in. That is so cleverly explained, like in the game world, that it still feels it's part of the world, and that's something that the narrator guy was saying as well. He wants everything to make sense. Not him personally. He was really making sure.
Yeah.
But so that was like a big thing that stood out for me. Everything's going to be within its own logic in the game, and I like that.
I think one of my other favourite moments was when they were kind of driving in first person, so they were just kind of driving along in first person mode, and then like a van comes out, and then there's like a bit of a combat section, and then when all that ties up, the narrator goes, "Now this only happened because these people." I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's something like, "We annoyed these people in the van." So they in the mission earlier that we showed you, and now they're coming back after us to try and kill us, and that was happening dynamically in the open world. So I really like that idea. It's kind of like it's like in The Witcher or something. Like if you're trying to take someone out, and then just like the monster just kind of comes after you for revenge afterwards. It's quite a cool. I really like that. And again, it's like this idea of it being a bit dynamic. And What I don't like I really like games that really make an effort to be cinematic and kind of tell you a story, and that counts a lot for me. But what never really impresses me, right, is when people say, "Oh, this could play out about 7-8 different ways," but like a David Cage game or something. I'm not going, "Oh, great." It makes me conscious that there are options and there's a limited kind of like branch of paths you could go down, and it makes it more about the branching paths and less about the story. Whereas this feels so kind of fluid that it's not even branches. It's just like a whole like torrent going in one direction, and you just choose where roughly you want to be in that torrent. Do you know what I mean? Because things can change all the time, and it feels so fluid that you're not thinking, well, this could play out 5 different ways. It's just played out the way it's played out because of the decisions that you've made. Which I thought is one of the biggest strengths.
You don't see the strings as much, really.
Exactly.
Whereas it's like, when David Cage is saying, like, in Detroit Become Human, it was like, the scene in the park could have gone 4 different ways.
Exactly.
One of the ways is that your guy picks up a bin bag and puts it in the bin. Ooh. I mean, that's one way.
Yeah.
But in this playthrough, he didn't put the bin bag in the bin. And that was, and like, when you make it just, when you put a numerical value on it, it just feels like, oh, so this was option C, this is option B.
Exactly.
But when it all feels like this happens in order for this to happen, it feels really cool.
When it feels difficult to Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
That's exactly it. Because if you get to a point and in those Quantic Dream games, they literally go, now you've done this bit, but remember, it could have played out differently. And they make a point of showing you that. And whereas, if in Cyberpunk it feels like it's going to be quite difficult to map back how you got to this place, which is great. I'm into that. I've got to say I did quite like the gunplay. I thought that was one of the stronger parts of it. But I think because of the speed of movement, and I was so into Doom, and incidentally there was also some Rage gameplay that came out from Gamescom last week, right? And it looked really, obviously it's from id Software, so it looked very similar to Doom, and that similarly I was like, oh my god, this looks ace. And I kind of got a feeling about Rage being good, and I thought that straight away. And then, but anyway, so I'm a bit of a sucker for that kind of first person, fast-paced, blasting the legs off of people combat. And I'm into it. So how did you watch it, Liam? Were you cooking gyros?
No, I actually watched it live. I just happened to tune in. I was like, let's check this little, because they had the stream with
the
very wall of text. And then eventually a little progress bar came up, and when I clicked on it, it was at 99. So I was like,
very enticing.
I'll wait and see if something happens. Well, and a gameplay demo just started.
You'd be mad to leave, wouldn't you? At 99%. I mean, imagine looking at that and going, I'm out. Yeah, so, I'm not waiting for 100.
So I watched it live as it happened, and cool. It was cool. I watched the entire 48-minute thing. I was actually about to cook a pizza.
See,
it was tea time.
It was
evidently
tea time,
it was tea time.
That got delayed.
Did you have the chat open?
I did have the chat open. Yeah.
Was it going wild?
It goes as bad as well. Twitch chat normally goes on big events like that. There was a lot of memeing. That was pretty much all I could tell from it.
It's so ingrained into my memory because I was watching. So I had it on. So I was in the kitchen and I put it on the big telly in the front room, and then I was just back and forth with a little steering bowl, whatever. Doesn't matter about that anymore.
For the benefit of the tape, Jake just did a hand motion to show what a stirring bowl was.
Listen, guys, I want to say something to everyone involved. Let's just forget about the gyros for now.
Okay. Are you sure?
You just forget. It don't matter. It was nice though. So it was on the big telly, and I watched it on YouTube because on my telly I can get YouTube, but I don't know if I can install Twitch on it. So I had IGN's stream. And I didn't have the Twitch chat on, but as soon as I saw that nipple, I was like, I bet Twitch chat's going wild.
Yeah.
It's so ingrained into my brain now. Like, whenever I see anything, I go, God, I bet Twitch is loving this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so that's one point, isn't it? The narrator actually says at one point, Cyberpunk is a mature game, and then the camera proceeds to kind of...
Was it dead slaves or dead hookers?
It was... No, I think when he says that...
I think it was like some organ harvesting type thing going on.
Oh, so they were just innocent women. Oh, now I feel bad.
It was when he says that, the camera's kind of carefully framing the player character, who's a girl, framing her ass, and then the next bit is the boobs and the floppy bodies.
It starts with the character creator as well, that demo.
Yeah,
and it's fully nude.
It's completely
models.
nude. Yeah, it's like they're blurred out, aren't they? But
they're blurred, but they're not going to be blurred in the final game.
Conan kind of what's it called?
Conan Exiles.
Conan Exiles.
The dong slider, the famous dong slider.
It's almost there. So they made a point of saying it's a mature game, and I think they said that because there's the C word is in it a lot, and there's boobs in it.
I was going to say, when this is a mature game followed by quite a lot of swearing.
Yeah, I feel like I know what they mean, because like with The Witcher, it's kind of it feels like frothy entertainment for adults because it's and I know what they mean. It's because the way The Witcher 3 opens up, Geralt's in a bath and he's like spread eagled and the camera's between his legs, right? Yeah. And it just tells you straight away there's nudity and this is like Game of Thrones, but it's not
Thrones,
at least I like in The Witcher that it has a real, it knows it's fun. It knows it has a laugh at itself.
Yeah,
so,
this didn't feel too like quippy and like it was supposed to be funny. It was just some guy unironically calling people pendejos about 50 times.
That's right.
It was a tad edgy, I'll admit. But that's the thing, people are going to love it, especially a lot of the demographic are going to love it. And, I'm not distancing myself from them. I'm just saying it like, for me, I was like, ugh, pendejo. And it was like not only the organ harvester, you've got this tit in your face for about 5 minutes. You just carried it, and you can see the physics. And it's like, why is
again,
it
for the benefit of the tape, Jake is miming carrying a dead body.
More on that in a bit. But if you don't know where this is going, that's weird, isn't it? But
I hope to God they've seen this 48 minutes before listening to this.
Well, actually, I hope they haven't, because we're painting the best picture. So
this is better than
you take a corpse out of this ice bath, and then you're carrying it around.
Yeah.
And it's the breast that's right there on the screen for ages. And I was like, pretty mature, guys.
So these hand movements are too much, mate. You got to stop.
They're going to want a video version of this podcast if we're not careful. So we need to downplay the weird hand movements.
Yeah, it's a little peek behind the curtain. We're actually in my spare room recording this on a fold-out party and barbecues table that we bought from Home Bargains.
That's how all good podcasts start.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to something that I thought was pretty interesting in an article on Polygon in the wake of this kind of gameplay reveal. Okay. So as we've already discussed, this was a 48-minute behind closed doors bit of footage at first that was shown at E3 earlier this year, and there was a lot of games journalists and industry people who've seen it but not the public. So then they finally decided to show it to the public all this time later, right? So CD Projekt game director Adam Bodofsky, I think I've quoted that properly, says in a press release after they released this gameplay footage this week, okay, quote, "What we're releasing today was recorded from a game deep in development. Since many of the assets and mechanics of the current version of Cyberpunk 2077 are most likely to be modified, we initially decided to show this gameplay only to media." Now, this is why I think this is interesting. Elements like gunplay, both in terms of visuals and how RPG stats influence it, net running, car physics, or the game's UI, everything's pretty much still in the playtest phase, and we felt uneasy about publicly committing to any particular design.
Yeah.
So they were nervous. They were a bit anxious about sharing it, and it's because, as Polygon points out in the article about this, of The Witcher 3's gameplay reveal.
Yeah.
Which I can't remember if it was gameplay or if it was...
I think it was like a trailer or something.
It was like cinematic gameplay. It was the game in action, but it was like, cinematically put together. Mm-hmm. And that was in 2013, I think. So it's 2 years before The Witcher 3 comes out. And it's like a very different look. The colour palette of The Witcher 3 is very colourful and stuff now. Yeah. But in that trailer, it was very dark and
gritty,
brown and gritty. And it looked like a different game. And so they were anxious and then when The Witcher 3 comes out, everyone's going, oh, visual downgrade. It doesn't look as good. So they didn't want that to happen again. Can you? I mean, when you look at this, do you think this is unachievable, or do you think this is bullshit stuff?
They do mention, don't they? The narrator again. This guy, he's really looking after everyone's feelings, was saying that it is subject to change. He did say it was before, like I think it was before like the Mantis Claw takedown bit.
Yeah.
You know when V hacked into the guy, and then you could see everybody.
V is the main character, right?
V is So she could hack into the like a goon, and then you could see everybody in his crew, and then you could put viruses into their like implant things so they couldn't fire their guns. But before that bit, the narrator said that this is like working. You know, it's subject to change. And it's because it's something that happens a lot, I guess, in the games industry. Or when it does happen, it's really a spotlight is really shone on it, and they are held in such high regard. They don't want to be accused of the same things that I guess what a lot of people see as a lesser company is doing. So I guess they want to be able to show people the game as it is, but at the same time, I know that they were also feeling a bit weird about just the media seeing it, because at the end of this. I don't know if you're going to get onto this or whatever, but the last frame of the this trailer, did you see the message?
Yeah,
they'd written a message to the fans to say, like, you know, explaining why they didn't want to keep it from the public any longer and stuff like that. So they're very aware of how the public perceive them and stuff like that. And I think it's normally always good to just show the game as close to completion as you can, but at the same time they understand that they've got one of the hottest properties in games at the moment, and they don't want to be keeping it and just showing the media and that's it, I guess. I mean, well, they are people appreciate transparency, and the people like it when they you know, when companies like this at least appear to be being honest and by you know, wearing their heart on their sleeve and going, listen, we're nervous about this, but we just wanted to do it anyway because you know, so many people are asking about it. And if anything, it probably just increases the mystique to not show it, and it would probably develop people's kind of, you know, hysteria for it, because there were so many positive reactions to from the journalists who saw it behind closed doors. So many like excited voices and people saying, "I've never seen anything like this before. This is genre defining. This is definitely not a current gen game. This can't be a current gen game. It's coming next." You know, all this stuff makes you so excited. So to actually just show everyone what they saw almost like lances the boil a little bit for me. Do you think this is like an achievable state, Liam, like what they've got here? Do you reckon this is like a PlayStation 4? Could this run on a PlayStation 4, do you reckon?
I think it could. I think it'll be one of those end-of-generation games. You know, like the games that come out and they really show off everything that bit of hardware can do. You know, like The Last of Us was on PS3 and all stuff like that. I think it'll probably be, you know, one of the last games to come out on, you know, PS4 or Xbox and stuff. I have no doubt that it could run on like a PS4 Pro or a One X, because, you know, they are quite powerful things. But I think it is achievable. Especially with, like, you know, advancements in, you know, like dynamic resolution and stuff like that, and, you know, all efficient development tools. I think it's possible.
I think if they get it running and looking like it does there on a PC with like a 980 or any of these new generation of Nvidia cards that are coming out, you know, if you get it running on a gaming PC looking like that, they'll be fine, I think. And then you obviously have to make compromises on a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One base model version, and the things like the draw distance won't be as good. There'll probably be less people in the crowds. Now that is one thing that is often, you know, crowd density and actual density of things in the game. That's one thing that is commonly changes from PC to PlayStation. Like if you look at For Honor, that was a recent example for me where I really noticed it, where when you play For Honor on PC, there's full of mobs. Like the battlefield is full of like these little AI mobs, and then I played the same exact battles on the same game on PlayStation, and it's the crowd is a lot thinner, the battles feel a lot less, you know, punchy. But that's the only way to make it look nice and high res and shiny and stuff on a PlayStation. You've got to literally take out the complexity out of the game by removing some of the AI and some of the things going on the screen. So overall, then, I mean, is this a day one for you at the moment, or is that likely to change, or how do you feel about the game now, not just the gameplay reveal? How do you feel about Cyberpunk as a game now?
It'll be a day one. It's an RPG by a studio that make RPGs, good ones as well. So, like, you know, I'm not as hot on this sort of daytime cyberpunk looking gunplay stuff compared to like high fantasy.
Yeah.
But I've already got my high fantasy game with The Witcher 3, so I'm glad they're doing something different.
Me too.
And I know that they're going to come correct when it comes to like upgrades, skills, all the RPG elements, right? You know, we were saying about Destiny and that having that RPG like trendy thing of having numbers. Well, this is an actual RPG, not RPG elements, right? So because of that and because of like their track record and stuff like that, and the fact it looks great anyway, I'm definitely day one for me, I reckon. Yeah.
I'm excited about the fact that it's not multiplayer as well, because you know I'm not averse to that. I'm not averse to I'm looking forward to Anthem, for example, but I'm quite looking forward to the fact that it's this kind of game again, just a big single player game that I can play at my own speed and whatever. How do you feel about it, Liam? Are you looking forward to it?
I am, yeah. I'm a big fan of the cyberpunk genre, and I don't think we have enough games in that genre. We probably will after Cyberpunk comes out. It's going to be a lot of people, I reckon, you know, trying to jump in on the genre, but yeah, it's probably a day one buy for me, because CD Projekt, you know, they're just very good at what they do.
Yeah, they're a great studio, aren't they? I mean, there's a lot of like indie cyberpunk games, I think, but like
a lot like pixel art type stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and it kind of suits it, doesn't it? Because if you have like this pixel art style and you've got just some neon blue and green and red in there, it just looks like really nice. So that kind of in terms of pure art style and the music and stuff, you can have like quite low, quality or whatever music, but it would sound good because it's appropriate in it. And so there's a lot of indie cyberpunk games, but yeah, in AAA terms, you got Deus Ex and not a huge amount beyond that really. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. So that was Cyberpunk 2077. Now for our first podcast feature, I guess. Special Moves Pod. It's not really a feature. Right. Well, I don't want to downplay it. It's time for your regularly scheduled banter.
Oh,
okay.
Oxford dictionaries define banter as the playful and friendly exchange of teasing remarks.
Okay.
That's all I've got. So I just thought,
okay.
You just maybe insult each other. Just a bit
each other?
Yeah, just a bit. Well, you know, playful and friendly exchange of teasing remarks. That's what the dictionary says, mate.
Hey, Liam, played any Japanese games lately?
Got him, Jake.
Yes, I have.
Well, that was your regularly scheduled banter for the week. Join us more for next week's regularly scheduled banter.
Let's cancel that.
And hopefully...
that was a little bit of banter. That was a bonus.
That was
a bonus.
And
got him.
And hopefully an actual good idea for a feature. Come on, it's the first podcast, man. You know,
it's raw.
It's raw. I couldn't not have a feature, but also it's been one of the busiest weeks of my life, so I couldn't really.
Hey, if you're listening to this, you can just say, "Hey, I was here at the beginning. Remember the tough times when we were doing that weird banter thing?"
Do you remember that?
Can say that.
Do you remember that amazing feature, regularly scheduled banter, where Mike read out the Oxford?
We'll have a T-shirt in a year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've come so far.
Let's move on then to Graveyard Keeper. Jake, you've been playing Graveyard Keeper. Tell us about it.
Okay. So yeah, I've been playing Graveyard Keeper. It came out like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Like
August the 15th.
Mid-August. That's
on
it.
PC and Xbox.
That's the one, yeah. And I think it's got a PS4 release date soon.
Okay.
They've announced it's coming out soon. I don't know if it'll be on the Switch or whatever. It's kind of like Stardew Valley, in the sense that like you are a guy that has something to look after just outside of a town, and you can go and speak to the townspeople, have these like interpersonal, situations. Alright, I don't want to say relationships because in this game it's pretty distant. But anyway, Stardew Valley is a farm, and you're cultivating crops and making like parsnips and strawberries and such. But with Graveyard Keeper, you actually keep a graveyard. I know. And yeah, so what happens is that there's a loose story that you're a guy and you are in a car crash, and I think you're in like purgatory. And this is modern.
Oh really? There's a bit of a framing device.
Yeah, so it's like it's a modern day guy. You have a car crash.
So it's Assassin's Creed.
And then that's it. So you're in the Animus, which is it's medieval. Like I don't know where it is. It's like a fictional place, but you've got a graveyard to keep. You've got this talking skull. Who is another guy that was in purgatory. It couldn't get out. He's at this magical floating skull.
Mimir.
A bit of a Mimir kind of character. It's got a lot of humour in it because it's a game about again keeping a graveyard. So you can't get a bit too. It's not like what was the game, like a Mortician's Tale or whatever. The serious look at like embalming and shit.
Yeah. This
is not that. This is like horrendous. It's quite what I'm about to say to you now. If you don't realise that this is done in jest, it's done in like overtly comical way, very light and stuff like that. But what I'm about to say now sounds very dark, but let's carry on. So you've got this graveyard and you need to get out of purgatory, and you can do that through your learnings either of the occult with the help of an astronomer and a witch, or you can learn skills of crafting, and or you can do it through the power of God. And you've got a graveyard, and that's next to a church, and there's this guy that comes around. He's like a bishop kind of character, like a deacon,
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, we need to get this shit all sorted out because it's horrendous. I'm not opening the church if your graveyard looks like this. So you've got to fix the graveyard.
Graveyard keeper problems, am I right?
Well, I'll tell you the real problem. Every day a body gets delivered to you on a little donkey. He's a talking donkey as well. He drops off the dead body, and then you pick it up, carry it, and you take it to the morgue. And then that's where it's decision-making time, okay? So, I've got this graveyard and I want to make it better to open the church and please that guy, deacon, bishop, whatever. How do I do?
Not a pope, I believe.
Not the pope, that's it, that's the guy. He looks like one, but he's not him.
Yeah.
So, I dig up a fresh grave and dig the body, and cool, respect to all that. Put a little headstone on there, which costs quite a lot of money as well. Then I'll come back a day or two later, weeds have grown. I have to constantly keep tending to it and fixing it up. Sometimes like the weather just degrades the graves.
Yeah.
And every day I'm running out of space. So what do I do with these bodies? Well, I need money, so I just skin the bodies alive and sell the meat to the townspeople. Pretend it's just meat.
Of course, yeah. I was going to say, hey Jake, why don't you just skin the bodies and sell the meat to the townspeople?
It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of no-brainers, you can also harvest organs.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
You can also harvest organs.
I just want everyone to know I had no part in that. Okay.
And sell. Yeah, that was really. If you couldn't tell by you can sell the organs. You can drain their blood for potions to give to various other people that are trying to do a bit of science, which is a bit of a malpractice in medieval times.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't want to defile the dead, and sometimes you also don't want to bury them because you've got no space. So it's a nice. Where do you go on the scale of disrespect and respect? You just get rid of the bodies, don't you? You throw it into the river, so the body washes away, never to be seen again. You don't have to bury it in your graveyard and get your nice place looking bad. And at the same time, you don't have to cut these organs out of these poor souls. You can level up in the game a little bit like how Stardew Valley has a combat mechanic in the form of the caves. You can also do that, but whenever you do anything, they kind of drop orbs. When I mean do anything, I mean crafting, cutting down the tree, attacking an enemy. They all drop like these little orbs that all give you experience in whatever it is. So like if you do a lot of like foraging and crafting and woodcutting, you get points that you can spend in learning crafting stuff, like you can make your own wooden crosses eventually, but at first you have to buy them, so you become less reliant on selling dead people's flesh for money, and also on top of that,
because you learn how to put two pieces of wood together.
Well, carpentry back then was a very well-received tradition.
I guess you need to make the cross look nice. It can't just be
it's not simple as just like sticking two bits of wood together.
Well, it's a matter of opinion, I suppose. But
well, eventually, when you learn your crafting skill more, you can make ones out of wood. So that's a little bit. How do you do that? Yeah. Exactly. It takes a lot of skill. It's just like Stardew Valley. You're in day cycles, and again, just like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, there's things that happen only on those specific days. Yeah. So like at midnight on Wednesday, the astrologer leaves his tower or whatever, or meet up every Thursday with the beekeeper. You've also got your energy bar, and if you exert yourself too much, you run out of energy. So like everything from digging graves to pulling weeds out to lifting the body, all exerts energy, just like Stardew Valley. You can eat to replenish that, or you can sleep. So it's very, very familiar for people that have played Stardew Valley. Now, I'm really enjoying it. It's got a nice mix of humour. It's a real time sink. It doesn't feel like you're playing it for as long as you are. And the only issue with the game really is that at the beginning, the Pope guy tells you like, hey, let's sort this graveyard out. And then you kind of just told fix the graveyard. You're not really given any clear instructions how to do that. Mm-hmm. When I was playing it in early access a few months ago, I assumed that would be added in, but it hasn't been. So you kind of, for the first 3, 4, 5 maybe hours, you're just really exploring it. It's one of those games, and you get this quite a lot on PC Gaming, I think, where you're best off playing it for 5 hours and just restarting, because then at least you know what to do. You can get your day one right. So I did it with Stardew Valley.
You actually recommend a dry run.
Well, I did that in Stardew Valley as well, so then I could get my parsnips all symmetrical and I can figure out what sells most and stuff. But that's the way I like to play stuff. Scorched Earth after the first one. But, after a couple of hours, you will really get into the swing of things, and then that's when the game really shines through. That's the one downside this has got. Most indie games have their hook straight away, or you can kind of figure out what the gold is straight away. This, it takes a couple of hours to get into it. So if you're patient and you can, if the humour and all that can get you through there, then it's really good and it's really enjoyable, especially for the price. I could spend an extra 30-40 hours on this. I reckon I would play this more than Stardew Valley,
Wow.
But it's got a real hard curve to get into it.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought anyway.
No, it's nice to hear someone saying nice things about it, because I've seen the reviews, and the reviews are a couple of positive ones, but it's about it's yellow on Metacritic anyway.
Yeah. It'll be this first few hours. You have to it depends how into it you are. The music's great, and the music and the general Sunday afternoon vibe you get from it. You could play this with some rain outside and a cup of tea, and you'd feel this is a nice relaxing. It's very relaxing, yeah.
It's not immediately accessible, and you just need to, be a little bit patient with it.
And I guess that's down to if you're into the genre of
managing graveyards,
general necro related stuff, and also high fantasy, I guess, because it does get a bit wizardy.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Stardew Valley's evil half cousin, I suppose.
Yeah.
So Liam's been playing not Graveyard Keeper.
Not Graveyard Keeper.
Something very different.
Very, very different
What
indeed.
have you been playing, mate?
I've been playing Yakuza 6, or The Song of Life, to include its subtitle.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say, hey, Liam,
be specific.
don't you mean Yakuza 6, The Song of Life?
Yes, I do. That was the one.
Thankfully, you sort of...
Now that we're all back on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only really got one question about Yakuza, and that is, what the hell?
Just what the hell?
Yeah.
It's a very... Well, let me try and answer that to the best of my ability.
Please do.
So, Yakuza 6 is the... As you might have guessed, the technically the 7th, actually.
Of course it is.
Installment in the Yakuza franchise, and it is the end of the main character's story, who is Kiryu. He's been in all of them, and this is the last game about him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's been a long time coming. The story is generally, he's just got out of prison. He voluntarily went to prison. Good guy.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
as in he handed himself in, or he was just I'm going to go in there?
Don't ask questions about a game with a 6-game build-up, because this is
technically the 7th.
That would spoil the plot of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, he gets out of prison and he goes back to... He's got an adoptive daughter who from the first game, and he's excited. He wants to go see his family again. He wants to visit her, but then he finds out she's been in an accident, a hit and run. And so the story of the game is he's getting to the bottom of who tried to kill her, and why all of a sudden she had a baby.
Okay.
It was all going a little bit too smoothly there.
This is this is Emmerdale, mate.
It's like a Japanese soap opera almost.
Yeah.
But so you have to balance being a hard knock gangster with amazing martial art ability
and a penchant for karaoke,
whilst trying to be a granddad at the same time.
It's like Sopranos.
Sorry, the granddad angle is just that adds a lot.
I should probably explain. If you don't know what Yakuza is, it's an open world sort of action RPG type game where there's random encounters. You level up your stats and everything.
Yeah,
you just you follow quite a long storyline throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else do you have for me.
How many people do you punch to death? Because when I watched you playing the last Yakuza 5, what was it? 5 or was it Yakuza 0?
It was Yakuza 0 we played.
Okay, so that's technically Yakuza 1, but chronologically it was the last Yakuza, right?
Yeah. Well, there was Yakuza Kiwami in between, which is a remake
that confused
of the first one.
Yeah, okay, so Yakuza 0 was it's not that old, but it's the first chronological one.
Yeah.
And you did all sorts of crazy stuff there. First of all, we have to take you away from the arcade, and then there was a rhythm game, then karaoke, and then my favourite scene I'll never forget. Whenever I think of Yakuza, this is the archetype. Liam forward rolled through a window which led to a men's urinal. He beat the shit out of 5 guys, including smashing their face on the urinal. Because if you're in a toilet having a fight, you can't do a scene without smashing.
Yeah, that has to happen.
Yeah. He levered them so much, and then I think he escaped back through the window that he came in through.
Well, no, it's a boss type character bursts in towards the end of the fight, and you drop kick him out the window you came in.
There we go. Yeah. So is there more of that,
In Yakuza,
or is he a bit more mature now that he's a granddad? Like,
Oh no, there's a lot of that. So like, even if you're walking around, because there are sections of the game where you have to like hold the baby and walk around, and occasionally he'll start crying, and you have to literally shake the controller to calm him down.
all right, okay,
So,
yeah.
they
you're
thought
not-
everything through.
So
As a
this
new
is
father, very relatable.
But random encounters still happen. And so there's always like a companion with you. So you just hand the baby off, or you have a quick fight.
Again, very relatable. Very relatable.
Game of the century.
And are you enjoying it as much as the other games in the series? or
Yeah,
what?
I loved it. It's probably my second favourite after Zero, to be honest.
So the first and the last, technically in the timeline, are the best.
Kinda, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and okay,
Yeah,
because it's a series that is just really getting more wind, isn't it? Like,
It is,
especially
especially
after
over
years.
here, yeah.
I mean, I've got more questions and answers after that,
Please,
but it's
please ask me.
just right. Okay, so is he, in your opinion, is he a better dad than Kratos, John Marston, and Joel from The Last of Us?
Where does he stand on the dadometer?
Bear in mind, he's also a granddad who has to carefully pass over the baby when there's a brawl about to happen.
Yeah.
He's getting ambushed, and he's got to hold this baby, and then he fights. I've got that right. Yeah, that's what you said.
That is what happens. But
Okay.
That's like one chapter of the game.
Yeah,
You
it
don't
happens
have
in
to
one
do it
chapter.
all.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Mike,
I don't want to
Mike.
defame
There are
him.
like 13 chapters. But yeah, so on the dadometer, I would honestly put him at the top,
Top dad!
Yes,
top dad!
because
Yeah.
Top dad alert.
Kratos he's trying to be a good dad, but
Yeah.
he still gets angry and he shouts and he like chastises Atreus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas Kiryu genuinely will, take down an entire Yakuza crime family just to protect his friends.
It's that top guy,
right,
top
top
dad,
guy.
top granddad.
You know, in Top Gear, they have that thing where they get the celebrities to do the racetrack.
Yeah.
Or in Saturday Kitchen, they get the chefs to make an omelette. This is the Hall of Fame. Are you a better dad than the guy from Yakuza? So let's tune back next week, because Red Dead Redemption 2's on the way. There's going to be a dad arc there, surely. Spider-Man, he ain't got a dad, has he? He ain't got an uncle anymore. They're all
Tony
dead.
Stark's kind of his father figure.
Well,
I
we
guess.
need to keep an eye on the dadometer, because at the moment, Yakuza's at the top.
Yeah.
Better
it
than
is.
Kratos. And Liam needs to decide.
You need to top passing a baby to someone else so you can engage in a street brawl.
Yeah.
That's the that's the bar. That's the
Basically,
level.
what I'm saying is just play Yakuza 6 if you haven't, because it's a very good game. The combat's great. It's got a great story, and it's got a wealth of content in it. Literally, yeah.
You actually said, I think, that it was like already one of your games of the year.
Yeah.
If not the.
It's possibly my game of the year, just because it was like
That's
it,
big, man.
That is
resonated
strong.
me in a way with me in a way that no other game really has this year, apart from maybe God of War.
Yeah.
I love that, mate. I absolutely love that.
It knows how to balance serious sort of like melodrama type stuff with just going outright insane.
With kicking people out of windows and
Yeah.
shit like that. Okay.
There's a lot of
It resonated with you.
that. Right,
That's
just,
amazing.
Just buy
That's-
it, people.
That's
Buy it.
amazing. It's what's annoying for me is that I'm trying to play through Sleeping Dogs, and I haven't finished that. And every time I look at Yakuza, I think, well, I've already got like a martial arts based open world game with a lot of mini games and stuff in it that I need to finish. And so
Yakuza is quite similar to Sleeping Dogs, but with more RPG-ish type stuff put
okay.
onto it. So
Right.
like you have to level up stats and stuff like that.
oh, nice. Oh, that's good. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Probably the best way to describe it to someone who's not familiar with it.
Yeah.
If you've played Sleeping Dogs, Yakuza's like a longer version of that with a bit more RPG to it.
People were raving about I can't remember if it was this one or Yakuza. Was it Zero or
I think it was Zero.
last year?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because that was a prequel to it all, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah.
that was where the series like really started gaining traction. over here in the West anyway.
And it was part of this like clutch of games that came out at the start of 2017.
Yeah.
With loads of really high quality titles.
I think it came out the same day as Resident Evil 7, I think.
And there's just loads of like positive things being said about it. So that was the first time I gained any interest in it. Yakuza 6 has actually been out for a couple of years.
Sorry.
In Japan, right?
Yeah.
6, that's Yakuza 6.
6 is the one I played.
Yeah, and which is, remember,
unfinished.
technically the 7th.
Song of Life, though.
Song of Life.
Right, now
Yakuza 6 Song of Life. Sorry, mate.
Yeah,
My fault. So it's been out in Japan for a couple of years, and it came out here in April this year, but it's just been like a backlog game for you, I guess. That you've
I got it in April, started it in April, but only recently picked it back up
loved
again.
it in August.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just I was trying to whittle my way through my backlog.
Very good.
And that was the next logical step, since I was already in the middle of it.
Very good. Well, I haven't played anything really because, like I said, it's been one of the busiest weeks of my life. But I have played a little bit of Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition on the PS4. Jake, you've played a good chunk of it as well.
About 10 hours.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't played that much. But so Divinity Original Sin 2 has been out on the PC since late last year, and we all play it on. Well, we've got a co-op playthrough which we're going to have to start again, I guess, so we can play the Definitive Edition. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because it's a great game. I really like Divinity Original Sin 2. The PlayStation version, which I've been playing, I've got to be honest, it feels very difficult to come from mouse and keyboard to the controller, to the PlayStation controller, just because of the sheer amount of control you've got with the mouse and keyboard over all the hotbar and picking up items in the world and just being able to click on anywhere in the game world to pick things up or speak, whatever. It's really good. So I'm having to acclimatise to the PlayStation controller, but I'm getting there. It's quite intuitive. It's quite it's really well put together. And the Definitive Edition, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically it's not even it's not DLC. It's not. I don't know what it is. They've just literally redone a lot of they just go, you know what, we're not happy with how this bit plays out, and they just change it. Like they revoice the dialogue, they
weird.
redo the levels. It's great, man. It's really good. But so the introduction, the opening scene of Divinity Original Sin 2, which is kind of this classic computer role-playing game type game like Baldur's Gate or something, where you create a character and then you have a party and all that sort of stuff. It all begins on this ship, right? Well, when you play the Definitive Edition, there's like a whole other deck below, which is a tutorial area, which you can skip straight away by kind of, if you've played it and you know exactly what you're doing, you can skip it. But if not, you can play through it. And there's a tiny little bit of story in there, like just some hints of what's gonna come.
And you learn like some weirder mechanics. When I say weirder, like ones that you wouldn't normally do, like lock picking and stuff.
Yeah.
And like the elemental thing, you really get to see how that plays out.
It's a complicated game, isn't it? And it needs it.
Yeah, it is, especially if you. Yeah, like you take so much for granted. Like I just take because I played the first one loads and loads and loads, and it's the same really. It's the same mechanics. I mean, so for me, I take for granted like the elemental side of it. If you put a candle on some oil, it's going to set it on fire.
Yeah.
But I guess that's a bit weird and a bit like to people. So they've added like a whole new thing, and you also get to see the persuasion mechanic at play, and you get a little choice whether you want to trust a prisoner or the jailer, basically, who's like a magister. You get
one of the kind of the they seem like the bad guys kind of thing, where they're the guards, basically the guards, and the magisters are the guards. So that's how and you're kind of their prisoner. I've got to say the genius of this game though was really shone through because Laura, my partner, had played a bit of co-op with me, right, and. She's not into this kind of game at all, really. Yeah. But even creating the character, and then this game's got kind of such a sense of humour and such a sense of logic, like you were saying there. If you put a candle on oil, the oil will burn, and because you can apply that logic to everything, it feels very, very interactive. Yeah. And all these things that I would think, like there's buckets right at the beginning that you can just put on your head for armour. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they literally it hides your characters. It lowers your intelligence because you can't see. So, but you can do things with the buckets. You can put things in the buckets. You can put candles in the buckets. You can stack things on top. Yeah. So Laura's having loads of fun, like doing that kind of thing, like right from the get go. Even though she normally, when I've tried to play this kind of thing with her before, she's completely averse to it. And I think it kind of really shows how great this game is, that it can appeal to people who aren't normally interested in this type of CRPG experience. It's
so heavy on info as well. Like it's
a lot of tooltips and
really overwhelming at first, especially on on a PlayStation 4 as well.
Yeah.
Because the UI is significantly bigger, so therefore you've
Yeah.
got like a lot, like like in most PC games, like think of an MMO, how you've got like your hotbar at the bottom.
Yeah.
Your hotbar's like literally half the size on the PS4.
Yeah.
So you've got to I can't even fit all my skills on one hotbar now with one of my characters. But yeah, there's loads of armor screens and lots of radial menus. That if you've not played like a game like this before, it must be really overwhelming.
Yes, and I will say that if you've heard us talking about Divinity Original Sin 2 for the past year and talking about how amazing it is, that is one thing you should bear in mind. If you've never played a CRPG before, there's a lot of learning to do. There's a lot of things to take in, but it really does just require some patience. If you give it 2 or 3 hours to get comfortable with it and to learn what it's doing and and figure things out on your own and figure the best way of doing things, you'll soon settle into it. Like I said earlier, I'm still pretty convinced that mouse and keyboard is the best. If you do play PC, if you've got a PC and you play PC games a lot and you've got a PlayStation, I'd definitely get a PC version because it's cheaper to begin with. It's more expensive on a PlayStation, so it's the PC version is cheaper, but it is there on PlayStation and Xbox if you want to. When's it out? What's the date?
It's out on
this week,
Friday.
Is it
Yeah.
the
31st?
Yeah, so
It's on Friday.
I think it is.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's out then,
It'll
and
be Friday, won't it?
it's got loads of cool new bits on
Yeah.
for PC and the PS4, really.
Yeah.
And if you get it on PC, you get the Dungeons and Dragons sort of GM mode, which you don't get on the
Yes.
console version.
Now, this is a very interesting aspect for anyone who's ever done any Dungeons and Dragons or ever in real life. Like it's just a completely customizable dungeon master mode where a dungeon master can tell a story and all that. And you might have seen, there's some great live streams.
Critical Role, who I think are like the biggest on the internet when
Yeah.
it comes to like tabletop D&D stuff. Matt Mercer, anyone who's into like D&D stuff will know that. Well, he did a campaign on it, didn't he? And it was actually a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Yes.
Because Larian Studios have spoken to Wizards of the Coast and got the rights for a lot of the 5th and I think the 2nd edition D&D maps, Neverwinter Nights and all that sort of stuff.
Which is ace, yeah.
So you can run actual D&D campaigns as you know and love in there, or make your own. You can't do that though on the console version, be warned. We did start talking about the console version and now we're on about the PC version, and it's just something, it's like one of the only things that didn't really make it in.
Yeah.
Is that because they were saying because the menus, you'd have to be so quick to spawn characters and stuff like that on the fly, and you've got to type out names and stats. So that's why they left that. But there is new mode in the definitive edition, like the arena mode and stuff as well. But
yes, there's a bit of PvP if you want to do that, and if you want to, I guess, test, because the actual battle system in the game is like this turn-based. I don't want to say XCOM style, but that's because that's what everyone says. But it's not as tile-based or anything like that, like XCOM is. You can move. You've got a cursor.
Yeah.
And you can target. Everything works in like radiuses of range and
It's
stuff
like
like
old school Fallout, right?
Yeah.
Where you have action points.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it takes exactly from those kind of classic games, and it obviously it just evolves. And the elemental thing is really what, for the first Divinity Original Sin, that is what really made me really like the game, because this idea of like, casting like a rain spell so it rains, and then like freezing the puddles on the floor, or electrifying them, or vaporizing them to make clouds, and then electrifying the clouds. These elements are like really interactive, and you've got to think where is your character standing in a pool of blood? Is he standing in a pool of water? Is he standing on ice? You've got to be careful because you might slip on the ice. Yeah. All this sort of stuff. So good, right? And that's what the battle system is built on. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully I can play a bit more over the next couple of weeks.
Because I played the entire first chapter, which is what you could get if you pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
But we got this full game. And I've played the first bit now 3 times all the way through, and I've done the first bit, like getting out of the prison fort 5 times, and I've noticed 2 new encounters that I've never seen before
in the
definitive edition. But here's the thing that speaks to the quality of this game. I'm not sure if that's in the base version. I've got a very strong feeling one of the encounters is new. Right. Very strong. Yeah. Because I can pretty much remember going there with my alone and with you two and not seeing it.
Yeah.
But I was still discovering things the 5th time round that I haven't done before. Yeah. And I can't tell at this point, and that speaks to how much stuff is in the game. Yeah. If it is just in the original and I've not noticed it, or definitive, I'm pretty sure there's one new battle encounter in the first chapter at least, near some cursed pigs.
That's funny, but that is literally what the whole game is. It's like you fight toads, you fight scarecrows.
Yeah, it's got a bit of humour in it, hasn't it? It's not like Pillars of Eternity.
Yeah.
It's not,
turtles. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, like think of any reptile. Yeah,
there's a lot of reptile hate in this in the opening area anyway.
It certainly is. But so chapter 2 is what I've just started, and I'm not sure if that's where I'll meet Sir Laura, but that's a pre-order bonus. And
Sir Laura, again, is a squirrel
that rides on a dead cat. And
yes.
I haven't bumped into him just yet, but I've just got to the second chapter, and I don't know, I'll probably put it on Twitter or something. You know what I mean? If I find him, I'm excited. I'm excited to find him.
Look out for that.
That's cool.
So that's the first podcast. That's the first Special Moves podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the very first ever podcast that we've done on this channel. Like we said at the top of the recording, you'll be able to listen to this on iTunes, Castbox, or your favourite podcast provider, Spotify, hopefully coming soon. Check out our brand new YouTube channel, Special Moves. Subscribe and turn on the notifications, because just please do it.
Because it's going to be well. It's going to be wild good.
It's going to be that's that's what I mean. Do it because it's going to be ace. It's going to be really good. We actually have loads of things planned, and we're really excited about it. And of course, if you subscribe and turn on your notifications, you can watch them and help us out and enjoy some nice videos. Tell them about the content, Jake. What content is it?
Okay, great. We've got a show coming up. We've got, our classical voiceover impressions videos that you know and love.
Yeah.
We've also got some new stuff. We've got that high concept.
I like that. Just laughing at the end of a sentence to make it seem fun.
Yeah, we got Questlog, which is, don't call it a Let's Play. We've got a lot of new stuff coming on. The thing about the channel as well is that we're going to be uploading content fairly frequently, albeit not every day. So the best way to make sure you don't miss anything is, of course, to make sure you get the notification button done. And then every time you get a video, it'll be direct, live and direct. And you can help us help you help us.
Thank
Jake.
you
very much.
And if you want to support this podcast and Special Moves on YouTube, check out our Patreon page. I mean, it's early days, of course it's early days.
Yeah, but we've planned our Patreon tiers so fucking perfectly, as if we're starting as we mean to carry on, and we've got loads of cool stuff on there. We've really thought about it, and it's been about a week of thinking, what can we do that's going to be really great for everybody? Yes. And now we've done it. So please, if you're interested in seeing what not only just supporting us, but seeing what you can get for doing it as well, have a little look, because we've got loads of different things.
Yes, we basically wanted it to be really fun, and we were so serious and focused on making it fun. It was, it's been a lot of work. But the whole idea, the whole point is that we don't want things to change down the line. We're just, we're setting up this new channel, new podcast and everything. What we would love eventually is for it to be funded by Patreon completely. So that's no adverts and no messing around, no middleman, just you guys and whoever's watching the videos. We won't be chasing the views, nothing like that, just making good content for the people who actually want to watch it. That is the dream. That is where we eventually want to be. So we thought we might as well just start
do it now. Don't move the goalposts halfway.
Exactly.
And everyone knows where we're at.
Yep. So you know what we want to do, and you can read that in the stretch goals and in the text if you want a bit more information about what our ambitions are. Our setup at the moment is pretty limited as well. So we've got enough to do a podcast. We've got a basic kind of setup in my spare bedroom with lights and a camera and whatnot, and we can work with that for now, and hopefully we can expand that if you guys are interested. If you want to watch the channel, then great, then we'll be able to expand the equipment and the setup and everything. But yeah, it's a good Patreon page. We put a lot of thought into it. Hopefully you will enjoy reading it, and hopefully you'll enjoy our videos, and hopefully you'll enjoy listening to this podcast. You'll find links to all of our stuff down in the description. That's our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the Patreon page, the YouTube channel, and the link to the podcast on somewhere, iTunes, I guess. Should we do that? Should we put a link to the iTunes in the description?
Yeah, let's just give them everything.
Thank you so much for listening to the Special Moves podcast, the very first Special Moves podcast. I've been Mike Williams, and these guys were Jake Lukowski and Liam McKelvey.
Always.
We'll see you next time.